What is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolve video. Alright soldiers, in today's video we're going to be going over the Havencraft reveals. We only have 2 more reveals until we're done with all of the sets and neutrals and stuff for set 9. I'm very excited for all the new decks that are going to be surfacing through set 9. I'm excited to see what this new metagame is going to be like. If it's going to say, oh, Vampires is going to be like this, oh, Earthlight's going to be like that. But I'm excited to just figure out what these cards are coming out in these classes. Alright, without further ado, we have our first card, John, Beacon of Salvation. So she's a 3-cost 2/3. You can evolve for 1, but when she comes into play, you draw a card. And if there are at least 2 followers with John in their names in your cemetery, give this follower +1/+1 and Storm. Also, our legendary is focused around John. That's very interesting because John is more of a control card that does 2 damage to the entire board. But hopefully there's going to be more cards named John that we have more targets to select from cards being in our cemetery. Alright, and then we have the Beacon of Salvation Evolve. So she turns into a 3/4 and she has a strike ability. So when she swings, you select the Havencraft follower that costs 2 or less play points on your field and give it +1 attack. But on Evolve, you select the Havencraft follower that costs 2 or less play points in your hand to put it onto your field. Alright, so if you are a Storm Havencraft player, then this is going to be the legendary you are looking at. So on Evolve, you're going to be playing a 2-cost Storm Havencraft follower because you are playing a Storm deck, of course. And with this unevolved effect of getting the Storm by X amount of Johns being in your cemetery, I don't know why you wouldn't put it hand in hand with 2 Storm followers on the field. But on top of that, when this follower swings, you're going to be getting that 2-cost follower with that +1 attack, so hopefully you'll be swinging for a lot of damage in one turn. Alrighty, next up we have Tutankhamun. So he's a 4-cost 5/4. He has Ward, but when he comes into play, you draw a card and put a card in your hand on the bottom of your deck. He also has the last words, and 1 play point to search your deck for Tutankhamun and summon it, engage it, and then shuffle your deck. Alright, so what it seems like here, you're going to be spending 4 for a 5/4 Ward that draws a card and puts a trash card that you don't really want in your hand to the bottom of your deck. So if you're using cards like Aether or White Wing, putting those bigger cards like Heavenly Aegis to the bottom of the deck is really good. So doing this and then putting a card to the bottom of your deck, while also having the last words of using 1 play point to search for another card to draw a card and then also put another card to the bottom of your deck by this card being played out. Alright, so forgive me on this pronunciation, but I think this is Serenian Hind. So we have Serenian Hind, it's a 4-cost 4/4, and you can evolve it into a Serenian Light Hind or a Serenian Dark Hind. It comes into play, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, you may reveal an amulet from among them and add it to your hand, put the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. Alright, so a pretty solid fanfare ability for 4 to look at the top 5 and get whatever amulet that you need for whatever situation. But on top of that, using this follower and then evolving it into whatever follower in whatever situation that you need, either the Light Hind or the Dark Hind, might help with whatever situation you might be put up against. Alright, so we have the Serenian Light Hind Evolve, so it turns into a 5/5 and it has Ward, but on Evolve you put an amulet on field into its owner's cemetery and give your leader +4 defense. Alright, so this on Evolve is very good, especially paired up with Forgotten Sanctuary's last words. So essentially you get to play out Forgotten Sanctuary, you get the Holy Tiger, blah. But when you play out this Light Hind, you're going to be able to get rid of Forgotten Sanctuary and you're going to get +6 defense. Alright, and then we have the Serenian Dark Hind, so it turns into a 5/5, and then it has Bane. But on Evolve, you put an amulet on the field into its owner's cemetery, select the enemy leader or an enemy follower on the field, and deal it 4 damage. Alright, so this card is going to be paired up perfectly with Eidolon of Madness by getting rid of Eidolon and doing the last words for that card, and then dealing the extra 4 here on the Dark Hind. Alright, next up we have Heavenly Knight, so he's a 5-cost 3/7. He has Storm and Ward, but when he comes in play, if there are at least 2 amulets on your field, give this follower +2 attack, and give your leader +2 defense. Alright, so this is a pretty solid card to swing in for some 5 damage, and on top of that you have the 7 defense that you have to worry about as the Ward. So if your opponent doesn't have the hard removal, this is a pretty solid card to be playing. Alright, next up we have Tenko's Shrines with a 4-cost amulet. When your leader gains defense, engage this card and select enemy leader or enemy follower on the field and deal it 2 damage. Well, outside of aggro Havencraft, what kind of Havencraft deck would we be if we're not trying to stall out the game and get as much defense possible whenever going for our plays? Now we have an amulet that's going to be engaging whenever we gain health to either ping a follower for 2 or ping our enemy leader for 2. Alright, next up we have Jeweled Priestess, so she's a 2-cost 2/2 and you can evolve her for 1. And looking at the Jeweled Priestess Evolve, so she turns into a 3/3, but once per turn, when an amulet is put onto your field, give your leader +1 defense. But on Evolve, you select the amulet in your hand that costs 2 play points or less and put it onto your field. Alright, so I think this card is pretty okay, just if you're playing a very low to the ground amulet build, like something like Candelabra of Prayers. Whenever you're playing an amulet, you just heal 1. So now you're being able to heal 2 when playing amulets, which is pretty nice. Alright, next up we have White Fang Temple, so it's a 3-cost amulet. At the start of your end phase, put a prayer counter on this card, give your leader +1 defense. And at the start of your main phase, if this card has at least 3 prayer counters, put it into its owner's cemetery and search your deck for a Havencraft follower that costs 4 play points or less and put it onto your field. Alright, so I think this is a pretty solid card. This is like a really mini version of Instatute Seraph. So being able to heal one at the end of turn is very nice, and that's something that Instatute Seraph should do, honestly. But Instatute Seraph has that ability that it can't be removed, so it's an amulet that just kind of stays on the field and it's going to collect value. Now, this on the other hand can be removed and you're going to be healing one, so if your opponent really does want to answer this card, they can. And then once you hit those 3 prayer counters, you are going to be able to go ahead and get that 4-cost follower, play it, and then get its effects, and then potentially evolve it or do whatever you need to in that very same turn. And yes, soldiers, I do see that it says Faith Followers, but from my online JP to English translations, this is what it had up there, but it really means Havencraft Follower. Alrighty, next up we have Opposing Statue, so it's a 4-cost amulet, and it has 2 fanfares. So the first fanfare is search your deck for a Holy Fowl of Ivory and put it onto your field. As the second fanfare, put another amulet on your field into its owner's cemetery, and you search your deck for a Hexed Fowl of Avon and put it onto your field. I don't know about all of you, but this picture personally reminds me of the 2 statues where Naruto and Sasuke would always fight. It's always been my favorite fight of all time throughout Naruto. Yes, I'm a Naruto fan if you guys didn't know. But this looks like both of the statues from the anime. But getting back into the card ability here, being able to spend 4 and get 2 fanfares effects, I don't know exactly what these 2 cards are going to be doing, but spending 4 to getting 2 cards is pretty nice in my book. But moving on, we have Lycon. He's a 6-cost 5/5. You're going to evolve him for 1, but when he comes into play, you discard an amulet and you select the enemy fall on the field and deal it 5 damage and draw a card. While paying for a total of 6 play points to get a 5/5 and then getting rid of an amulet out of your hand to deal 5 damage to a follower on field and then replacing the card that you just got rid of. But looking at Lycon Evolve, so he turns into a 6/6, but on Evolve you discard an amulet and you select the enemy fall on the field and deal 5 damage and draw a card. So the exact same ability as the unevolved effect, which is pretty okay. So dealing a total of 10 damage to one follower and then drawing at least 2 cards is pretty nice too, but you do have to remember you are replacing the cards that you're getting rid of out of your hand, which is pretty okay. I'd say pretty mid. But as a big follower, this is pretty nice to be establishing like a boss monster on your board. Alright, and then we have Holy Fowl of Ivory, so it's a 3-cost 3/4. It has Ward, but when it comes into play, if there's an amulet on your field, you give your leader +2 defense. Alright, so if you're using the amulet card Opposing Statues, this fanfare is going to go off already, so paying for 4 and then getting a ward and then also healing 2 is not bad too, and then you get another card as well. And here is the other card, Hex Fowl of Ibon. So it's a 3-cost 4/3, it has Rush, but when it comes into play, if there's an amulet on your field, you deal 2 damage to each enemy leader. Alright, so this is the other card you can get off of Opposing Statues as long as you get rid of an amulet on field when doing the fanfare effect of the opposing statue. So you free up the space, you can play up the Hex Fowl, and then the Hex Fowl is going to come in and deal 2 damage to the enemy leader, and then it's going to have a 4/3 with Rush. And personally, I don't know if this was just like a mistype or anything, but I believe these cards are Ebony and Ivory, so it probably might not be Ebon. I'm not 100% sure, but Ebony Ivory is a DMC reference, which I'm very excited for the Netflix series to be coming out. I don't know if you guys are into Devil May Cry or anything like that, but I'm a huge fan. But without further ado, we have Death Scythe Nun, so she's a 2-cost 2/3. She has Bane, but when she comes into play, you give another Havencraft follower on your field Bane. Alright, so if you're playing a little bit lower to the ground, I think this follower is not that bad, especially if you have a ward on field. So giving another Havencraft follower that has ward Bane is very good, especially if your opponent's not going to have the hard removal and they have to swing into those followers. No matter what those stats are, you're going to be just removing followers off the field. Alright, and lastly we have Morie Ecomium, so it's a 2-cost amulet. When it comes into play, you draw a card, but last word you select the enemy follower with 3 defense or less on the field and destroy it. Alright, so I'd say a pretty solid card, especially when playing it off of the Jeweled Priestess. So you play this, you get to heal 1 and draw a card. This is off of the Jeweled Priestess effect, of course. So playing this and drawing a card is going to be pretty nice, and then whenever you want to remove it off of the Last Words effect, you can choose a 3-cost or less follower and destroy it. Alrighty, and here we have the John UR. So John has another UR, so if you're collecting a whole bunch of John cards, I think this is going to be definitely one that you want to use, because this absolutely looks astounding. This evolve looks very beautiful. And if you are a Havencraft enjoyer that really wants this card, I am hoping the best for you in pulling this card or obtaining this card as fast as possible and as easiest as you can. But alright soldiers, I am very excited to get into the rest of these reveals. We only have 2 more left. We have Rune and Neutral, which of course we're going to get through the rest of the week, and then we're going to have the finishing off of set 8, and then we're going to be going into set 9 next week. Are you guys excited? But alright soldiers, make sure you're safe from whatever you do tonight and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. And oh, by the way, April Fools. Bye.
Yeah. TRINN. Just to get you away. What I got to do. What I got to do.